Welcome to another episode of Exploring Shasta County History. I'm your host, Jeremy Tuggle. Today we're at the historic Meyer Family Ranch just outside of Bella Vista, California in Shasta County, exploring my family roots. That's right. So this family on my maternal side, this ranch dates back to 1853. And my cousin is going to take me and my friend Robert around. That's right, Robert Frazier of California Unearthed, to explore this historic property. My cousin Betty Stevenson, the one that owns this ranch, wishes not to be shown on camera, so I'm going to try to do my best and respect her wishes. But Betty, thank you for showing us around today. This is their ranch, and it still remains in the Meyer family through Betty. And on private property. This is the present living quarters on the ranch today. Highway 299 East is right there. That's the road to Ingot. Oh, yep, I see. Ducking.
Are you ducking?
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
So you guys have like a water
Truck delivered. Yeah, but and that's the neighbors. They just bought that property. Of course, they put it in for some cows they had on pasture there, and then they told us we could use the water that was left, and then we bought several 4,000-gallon water truckloads from them, and then they were getting short of water. Now we went to another guy from Ernie. He's supposed to deliver another water truckload this afternoon.
Oh.
And no, let's see. I don't know how this is going to work here. How hard is it to get in and out?
What, this
Because I
gate
just
here?
I need to, yeah.
I'll see if I can.
Okay, I can go a little closer for now. Yeah, the chain just comes up through the slot.
Got it. You want to leave this open or close
No,
it?
we got cows in here.
All right. Pull up just a little bit.
Oh, here, I'll push.
There we go. Oh yeah.
Okay, if you're going to stand there, Jeremy, I'm going to shut your tailgate.
All right. Frederick Valentine Meyer, born on April 17, 1829 in Bremen, Germany, to John Meyer. Bremen was an important place since medieval times, which was a free city on the Weser River and one of the busiest ports in Europe. The German Revolution of 1848 was one of the factors which produced a steady stream of German immigrants to America. 22-year-old Frederick, along with his brother Herman, came by sailing ship around Cape Horn to San Francisco, in spite of sail trouble off the coast of Ireland. The 6-month-long voyage brought the two young men safely to their promised land. Herman worked his way east and eventually settled in Franciscoville, Michigan. Meanwhile, his brother Frederick left San Francisco and went up the Sacramento Valley, landing in Shasta County in 1851. He went to work in mining camps around the area and must have done well enough to have been able to invest in a fair amount of property in the Cow Creek area, in what is near present-day Bella Vista. Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. was naturalized on September 20th, 1856 in Shasta, Shasta County, California. The first record of land purchased by this ancestor of mine is found in the Shasta County Property Deed Book C, page 404, on January 30th, 1854, showing the transfer of the 1/3 part of the Anthony Dutter Ranch, situated in a valley northwest of Cow Creek. About a 1-mile distance from the same creek, it was bounded on the west side by Joseph Worley and contained about 104 acres, a house, 1/3 of the stock, 2 yokes, oxen, several hogs, wagon, and a plow, all for the sum of $700. This indenture listed Frederick's residence as Shasta City. On January 20th, 1855, Book C, page 572, Joseph Worley granted, bargained, and sold to Mr. Meyer, Andrew Klotz, and Adam Wester an additional 40 acres for and in consideration of the sum of $200. The survey was done in terms of so many poles to a large white oak tree crossing a creek to a pile of stones at the base of a mountain. The poles referred to the unit of measure used interchangeably with perch or rod and equals 16.5 feet according to the State Department of Transportation list of terms. On September 22, 1856, Book E, page 144, claims that Andrew Klotz sold 1/6 interest of a piece of property to Frederick Valentine Meyer for $500. This property bordered Anthony Dolly's claim on the east and west of Dry Creek, bordering the David Harris claim, and contained about 40 acres of land. Once again, in the Shasta County Deed Book G, page 80, and Book R, folio 524, the record shows that John Schrader bargained, sold, and quitclaimed for the sum of $600 to Mr. Meyer. It was a parcel of land on Little Cow Creek, not more than 160 acres. Mr. Schrader had originally taken possession of the land for cultivating and grazing under the Homestead Act. There is some evidence that suggests that getting full titles to properties squattered away with the state did not always go smoothly in these early pioneer years. Proper survey work had not been completed. Thus, on February 6, 1858, the following article appeared in the Shasta Courier newspaper. Land surveys. We are informed that Mr. Manville, Surveyor General, has closed a contract with Colonel McGee of this place to extend the government surveys over unsurveyed lands in this county on the east side of the Sacramento River, including Churn Creek, Stillwater, Little Cow Creek, and Oak Run, and also in 2 townships in Tehama County, south of Cottonwood Creek and west of Pontoons. We understand the amount of funds at the disposal of Mr. Manville for making surveys is very inconsiderable at present. Hence, his action in this matter is the more praiseworthy. Persons living on the lands within the sections mentioned will more especially be able to appreciate his kindness, as it will enable them to secure complete titles to their lands several years earlier than it would be possible otherwise. Colonel McGee will commence his work at an early date. Apparently, there were several acts of Congress that made it necessary for parties that held certificates of purchase, who actually had been merely squatters up until that time, to deposit them with the General Land Office, after proper survey had been made by that office in order to have their titles confirmed. We skip to 1861 and find a record of Frederick Meyer taking the 2-day trip to the General Land Office in Marysville, California, to confirm everything he owned. Meyer was becoming well established in Shasta County, and at the age of 31, Frederick took time off to travel to Franciscoville, Michigan, to visit his brother Herman, who was married and was raising a family of his own in Franciscoville. It was through Herman during that visit to Michigan which Frederick met and married 19-year-old Caroline Louise Notten. It was on May 2nd, 1860, when their wedding occurred. Caroline was born to John and Dorothy Kaiser Notten. The bride and groom returned to Cow Creek Ranch in California, traveling most of the way by ship, but crossing the Isthmus of Panama on horseback. Over the years, the couple had 14 children, all born between 1861 and the last arriving in 1891. The Meyer Ranch and home along Cow Creek in the present-day Bella Vista area is still in existence. The Meyer farmhouse, which was a typical 2-story pioneer farmhouse with 3 bedrooms for the girls and a spare bedroom upstairs. The boys slept in a separate building over the wine cellar. The living room contained an organ, which Caroline bought from a peddler. The children loved to play the organ. Outside the kitchen of the farmhouse was a well, 100 feet deep. Water was drawn up by hand in a bucket at first, but later they used a pump. In the yard were an orange tree and a fig tree. An orchard near the springs contained apricot, plum, apple, and pear trees. 2 large vineyards were on the property as well. From the grapes, Frederick made wine, some of which he sold. Caroline's brother, John Notten, who had served in the Civil War, arrived from Michigan in 1863 and purchased some land nearby his sister's residence. However, after only a year, he sold his property and departed for Ventura. His good fortune came much later when oil was discovered on his property there in Ventura. It was good fortune for the Meyer children, too. Each of the 14 children received a check for $1,000 as a gift from their uncle. As a result of the Transcontinental Railroad being completed in 1869, Caroline, along with the rest of her family, were able to visit her home in Michigan in 1870. Frederick and Caroline and their 5 children at that time traveled to Red Bluff in their spring wagon. From there, a riverboat took them to Sacramento, where they boarded the Central Pacific train. Caroline took their own bedding and food, which she prepared on a potbelly stove inside the railroad car as they traveled. While visiting in Michigan, the Meyers' 6th child, Frederick Valentine Meyer Jr., was born. All their other children were born on the ranch on Cow Creek. They came back home from the trip with a new child. Note the family surname on this map above from 1884. It's spelled as Myers, and on the following map, it's spelled as Meyer. The surname does not get corrected until 1904 on Shasta County maps. As previously shown on the county maps before in this video, the Meyer surname is spelled incorrectly. This 1904 Edward Denny's map of Shasta County corrected the family surname to M-E-Y-E-R. This is the Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. Ranch. Caroline Louise Notten Meyer died on August 27, 1908, in Delamar, also known as Bully Hill in Winthrop. Caroline was in Delamar visiting her daughter, Mrs. Olive Meyer Chatham, wife of John William Chatham, a local butcher in the Delamar area. At that time, she had become sick with pneumonia, and over a week's span had been at her house, where she had died. That same year, Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. started losing his eyesight. By the end of 1908, Frederick was blind in both eyes and was poor. Still, he survived another 8 years, up until December 31st, 1916, in health, when he died and was buried in the Millville Masonic Cemetery. He is buried next to his wife in the same cemetery. The writer of this obituary here claimed that Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. arrived in Shasta County in 1867, which is false. Shasta County records indicate he was here much earlier than that, since he did arrive here in 1851. However, he does not appear on the 1852 California State Census. Right in those trees is a rock memorial, rock monument for the headstone of John Meyer, son of Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. and Caroline Louise Notten Meyer. We're driving right on up to it. This is where he's buried.
We had to do
The only one of the 14 Meyer children buried on the property. And for that, we think this is the only burial in this, not necessarily a cemetery, but at this location.
Rattlesnakes out here too, bud?
Oh, yeah. So they were, hopefully it's, after the the squirrel holes that, yeah, just you're watching careful walking, because I said that that's what they did. They dug around it, and that was almost ready to fall over, and they chopped it back up.
And this is the burial site of John Meyer. And yes, there are squirrel holes all the way around. Not your typical headstone. It's made of sandstone. And the inscription is very faded on the rock. It's probably a good mile and a half from the Meyer farmhouse to this site.
The question I was just answering, as the crow flies, the old house, we're going there next. It's probably a mile and a half from where we live now.
All right.
Yeah. They hadn't been here long enough to, well, they probably, the Millville Cemetery probably wasn't even established, so there's actually no other place.
That's looking back at the burial. Yeah.
That's one of the barns that was here at the Meyer place.
So this is the foundation of the Meyer barn?
Well, this was, I was telling your friend that my daughter, Lisa, helped her dad redo these foundations, some here and some in the back, not long before then the Jones fire burned it up like 10 years later in 99.
All right.
But that's original foundation, those sand rocks, you know, that are
gotcha.
There.
So these sandstone rocks are the foundation of the old barn. One of them. There were two barns on the property. Both were burned down by fire.
And that down to the right here was the vineyard, where they always grazed the vine grave. And there's an old fig tree over there. This is a pear tree at one time. Now it's a seedless pear. And then up there, there's 6 or 8 of the lemon trees that are still lying.
Just goes down the straight line. And it corners off. Hopefully you can see it. Corners off there. Corner of it there, coming on down here. More of it here, and then it corners again and comes this way. And this was where the Meyer barn was. One of them. There was 2 on the property. So these 4 trees that you see here were planted by the Meyer family. This is the almond trees. Almond, however you want to say it. So yes, of course I'll say it. This is being rooted in Shasta County. see a sandstone piece.
Yeah, that's the cellar that was under the house there. Yeah, and that's an original rose bush back there. Rose bush?
Oh yeah.
That's original rose bush. And that's probably an original grapevine that's growing up in that tree. But the blackberries after the Jones fire, there was never any blackberries over here. And after the Jones fire, they scattered everywhere. And look what they're taking over here.
Right.
It's horrible.
There's Robert, hosts California Unearthing Shasta County History. This is the Meyer farmhouse here. So that's what these sandstone pieces belong to. Look at that, an OOT. What's that? Oh, it's just laying there on the rock. Huh. But this right here, you kind of see the slope going down. This is where the cellar was. Of course, you got more sandstone rock here where the house sat on top. Kind of overgrown by the bushes. See how flat they are? There's one right back there. I don't know if you can see it. Welcome home. Of course, I'm saying that to myself. I know I'm a nut. Now, this is Chasing My Roots. Historic Meyer Ranch, established 1853. Still in the family today. Of course, I descend through Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr.'s son, Herman Meyer. Herman's my direct line. Yeah, I could see a house being built on this pretty flat land right in here. Well, you saw the sandstone where it was. Big open field right out here. And just up from the barn where it's at, I could see the barn in the distance. Coming up on the Meyer family wine cellar. Obviously it had a staircase leading down to it.
Yeah. But it's looked like that all my life.
So like I was saying, obviously there was a staircase leading down to this because up on top there was another part of the house that was built, and that's where the boys slept. Not too many historians can claim that they've been here on this property. Now remember, Frederick made his own wine from the grapes on the orchard. And this is where he stored him.
Unfortunately, there was a flash flood that went through and wiped out his entire
Yeah.
fingers.
Had nothing. Shasta College has Hold on, so is she going to go into law enforcement dinner?
Apricot trees right there. This is the backside of the Meyer property where the farmhouse would be.
Way back there, you can see
Imagine that two-story farmhouse structure right here. This is what you'd be seeing if you're driving up this way. Wine cellar's right there.
Jeremy?
Yep,
There's the wine cellar.
I see it. Now I've been told we're driving to the Yankee place. Frederick and Caroline Meyer's daughter, Ada, married into the Yankee family. This is the Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. Ranch. Dates back to 1853, still in the family today. Owned by my cousin Betty Stevenson and her husband Ernie. just a remarkable amount of acreage. So this is a detour on the way to the Yank place. This is the home residence of Alva McBroom Sr., son-in-law of Frederick Meyer. His barn sat here where the sandstone is, and as I turn around on this flat over here, right out there on that flat was the McBroom homestead.
No, it was, well, yeah, whatever the 180 acres.
So that's where Alva McBroom and his family lived, right here. Like I said earlier, Alva McBroom Sr. was the son-in-law of Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. Alva McBroom was also Shasta County school teacher as well.
Over here, we'll drive by it.
So this is Yank Creek here, and what you're seeing, the white substance on top of the sandstone rocks of the creek is salt, and it cuts through the Meyer property, and there it goes, sneaking itself all the way into, I believe it goes into Bella Vista from here. But this is Yank Creek. Another detour on the way to the Yank house. In between the Yank and McBroom places is this natural spring, and this well dates back to their time period. And that's what you see right there. But that well has always remained full of water. So I apologize, on our way to the Yank place, my GoPro ran out of battery, and so we are here at the Yank place. The house where those locust trees are, beyond the fence line there, that's where the house sat for the Yank family. It was Frederick Meyer Sr.'s daughter, Ada, that married into the family. This structure, they believe, is a chicken coop, which dates back to at least 1919 when the family was still here on the property. It still stands. The barn sat right over here, and it dates back to that time period. So this is original to when the Yank family had it. Here's some foundation pieces. And this is still the Meyer property. In fact, I'm thinking they might have had an older barn that predated the concrete one, because here's a piece of sandstone rock. Let me try to see if I can find another one. So it was a pretty big barn. Here's another sandstone rock here. I don't see any other corner pieces. Those are the only two sandstone rocks that I see. Go check out the structure down here. So the Yanks were still living here in 1919, and this has been here since that time period. That's what Betty was saying. It's more sandstone. Probably not old enough to have square nails in it. And Betty was saying that this survived the Jones fire. She doesn't know how, but this building survived the Jones fire when it went through the Meyer Ranch property. And this is looking in. Betty said there is a well that they still take water from behind this structure here. Right down here. See if I can find it. What a spectacular day. Very cool. Not so hot out here. Let's see if this shows up. How cool is that? Alright, so this is the well here. And of course it's covered up. Coming back for the well. Now heading on over to where the Yank farmhouse was. A lot of this fence line was left up by the Yank family. But of course you got round arrows, not squared. So on this flat is where the farmhouse was. Leaving the Yank place. And we're at the Millville Masonic Cemetery, paying my respect to my ancestor, Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. He is buried here in the Meyer family plot. Along with his wife, Caroline Louise Meyer. Charles E. Meyer. This is my great maternal grandfather, Herman Meyer, son of Frederick Valentine Meyer Sr. This is the headstone of Frederick Valentine Meyer Jr. and his wife. And as we take a look around the cemetery once more, there are additional Meyer family burials here. I'm not going to have time to spend time at all of them. But this is where they're buried at. Alright folks, thanks for watching this episode of Exploring Shasta County History, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Catch you on the next episode.